Time to turn to the East. They are picked as the favorites. He had a good first year, could have been better. Who is the starting quarterback? Let's talk JMU. They are locked on Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, we did the West for the last few days, obviously maybe a week and a half. Now time to do the East, and up first is Bob Chesney and those JMU Dukes. Had a good first year, could have been really good. They did come away with a bowl victory, and now they are picked first preseason poll in the Sun Belt East. Who is the quarterback? Is Alonza Barnett III going to be healthy enough, or is it going to be former Holy Cross and ULV quarterback Matt Sluka? We talked to Bob Chesney about what was it like coaching in his first year in the Sun Belt, cleaning up some of the lost leads that they had. And we talk about his players, all right? Veterans, the offensive lineman Pat McMurtrie, cyber intelligence major, and the linebacker Virginia native Trent Hendrick. All right, they are up first from the East. They are from the JMU Dukes, and they are locked on Sunbelt. Dave Schultz back for day 2 of Sunbelt Media Days. We did the West yesterday. We do the East today, and we start off with the head coach of the JMU Dukes. He is Bob Chesney in year number 2. How do you think year number 1 went?
I think year number 1 went well. I think obviously at the end there's some failures there that we have an opportunity to learn from. I think we came up a little shorter than what we had intended or what we wanted to do. To have leads at the end in games and fall a little short was disappointing for us. But all those are great lessons that we could use to carry forward. I think that understanding your team in year 1 is really challenging, especially when you have 64 new guys and you're new to the program. So even though you have 64 new guys, the other, 70 some that are on that team, you almost don't know, even yet. And there's not a lot of film on them. So I think for us to know now fully every member of this football team, what they can contribute, their strengths, their weaknesses, I think it puts us in a good spot to just be able to build our roster out the right way, which we thought we did a nice job of. And now after year 1, hopefully look a little bit different in year 2.
It's not only learning your team, but learning the other programs.
Oh, so no doubt.
Yeah. So what was, I don't want to say stereotype, but what did you think you knew about the Sun Belt? And then what did you learn about the Sun Belt?
Well, I learned that, there's great football players on every single one of these teams. There is an issue and a matchup nightmare at receiver. They have phenomenal running backs, great offensive line, unbelievable quarterbacks. And you get over to the defensive side and it feels like everybody had a stout kid on the inside, a game changer at defensive end. And then they could just fly around to the football. It was just different. Special teams was also very well, built and coached. And I just think that you're dealing with great coaches, great players all the way through and aggressive style and brand of football. And it was fun to be part of.
You still have Michael Green nightmares?
We actually, I think, did pretty well against him, and you talk to Pat later, but I think we were able to hold him at bay a little bit for that day. Maybe the only team to do so. All
right. So it wasn't the first question, but I usually like to ask the coaches this question. Who's your starting quarterback?
Well, so right now, the cool thing about our team is that, Chris just handed me a note over here. Between the 2 quarterbacks we have, 3 quarterbacks that we have over 16,000 yards, of game experience complete, 171 total touchdowns, rushing and passing between the 4 guys that we got on the team right now. And I just think that it's going to be a battle, which we want to be in every single position group. Alonza is doing a great job. He's not fully 100% yet. So that's one of the things we'll just monitor, and we'll get into camp and see how the whole thing plays out. But I really like the depth. We did not have that depth a year ago. We were in a situation where Alonzo was the starting quarterback, and behind that, we didn't feel great about a lot of it. And, then we had some injuries behind it. Then he himself was injured, and we went into the bowl game starting our number 3 and number 4 quarterback. And I thought that was great experience for JC in there. But I like the way our guys all rallied around these guys. But again, every position group that we have, we want to be competitive in, and we want them to compete every single day and eventually earn that job, not be handed it.
We're talking to Bob Chesney, head coach of the JMU Dukes. Talk about Alonzo Barnett III, because from what I read, basically, he lost his starting job more or less the lines of like stage fright. Like he had tough times completing a pass, and Jordan McLeod comes in and wins Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Right. And so you end up with Alonza Barnett III. And I mean, it's a tremendous story. He had a sensational year, but it's a new program, new coach, new offense. And so how did you mold him? Because I think it's a great story.
Yeah, I think it is a great story as well. And I think you go back to that first game, that Charlotte game, and he misses a couple throws, and you could feel him. I had to just say to him, like, you are the guy, relax. Like there's nothing is happening here. You are not getting pulled. Don't go back to thinking about that. You are the guy. Like, have confidence in our belief in you and go.
So that conversation actually did happen.
Happen.
And you could see almost the light.
Exactly. And then it was that game he finished well. The next game, we were a little bit shaky on. And then that, we had a bye week, had a chance to clean up a lot of things, work on timing, work on matchups, work on who he liked, how he liked it. And then we went and played North Carolina and, did a pretty good job there. And then the next week scored another 60 and, and then just faced a little bit of injury, including to him. And he just had to battle through it because we were pretty limited.
All right. So then you bring in an old friend. All right. And the way the world works, you're at Holy Cross. Matt Sluka's looking for a new home. And then, I mean, it's just the way, it's a small world and you get to bring in an old buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think that's something for me, Matt, in my mind, I think in a lot of people's mind is he was going to be going a lot bigger. We had a lot of calls from a lot of people about him, or he had a lot of calls about it. And in the end, I saw him visiting Liberty and Memphis. And I said, wait a minute, if you're staying at this level, you got to get over here and at least visit this school and see it. So which he did. And then eventually made the decision to come with us. And
so has the offense tweaked since? Because you tweaked it to what you had at JMU, and so that's got to be a little bit different than Holy Cross.
It will always tweak. I mean, it has to always tweak. There's nothing you can't, decide that this is what we do and just keep pounding your head against that wall and it not work. So I think that, for us, also these quarterbacks, all four of them are different, really. So that they're depending on who's behind that center at that point in time, that offense might look a little bit different for each of those guys. So it's something we are developing as we went through the spring, something we're going to continue to develop as we go through the summer and we get to preseason. Now we just got to be able to make sure we're diversified and we fit each quarterback's strengths. But I think that also could be an advantage depending on how many are healthy, to be able to have a couple different offenses running at the same time could be a plus.
We're talking with Bob Chesney, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Sunbelt Media Days 2025, day 2. All right. So it used to be in college football, 25 to 30 new players every year.
Yeah.
Now is it now 60 new players again this year? Where are we?
Yeah, we're a little better than that. So we were at 64, not a whole lot better. We're a little bit better. So we had 64, now we're at 52. So with that though, a lot are freshmen. So it's about,
that's still like half the roster.
I know it is. And there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
No, but that's everybody.
It's everybody.
Not just you.
I think everybody's in a very similar situation. There will be some that are not, but a lot are. And I think that's for us just where we found ourselves. So it's really important that we find a way to continue, Dave, to really build this roster the right way. And for us to really find ourselves in a situation where, we're not staying old all the time. And I think, last year we came in here and we had a center, a guard, and a punter. We're the only 3 starters that were back on the team. This year we have 8, right? 4 on offense, 4 on defense. We're still upside down, 7 left. But when I go back and look at the numbers of guys, there's 13 guys on offense, 13 guys on defense that have played meaningful snaps. They were not the starter, but they played meaningful snaps in meaningful football games. And then we have another 13 transfers coming on both sides that have played meaningful snaps in meaningful football games. So even though it looks like there's only 4 starters returning, there's a whole lot of, production, and there's a whole lot of ability in the guys that have not yet had their name called in a JMU uniform.
All right, let's take a time out. We continue our conversation with the head coach of the JMU Dukes, Bob Chesney. We talk about cleaning up some of those things that did lead to losses. It wasn't just the turnovers and bad plays, but reacting to some of those bad plays and turnovers. We'll do that after I tell you about 5-Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings a bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the golf course or off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5, hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th. on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's continue the conversation with JMU head coach Bob Chesney, talking about cleaning up some of those issues they had last year, losing double-digit leads. And when does he expect to name a starting quarterback for the 2025 season?
All right, so let's go back to those tough losses because you did have double-digit leads in each of those ball games.
Yes.
Were those penalties? Were they turnovers? Were there coaching mistakes?
Yeah.
Were there?
Yes.
Were there? Was the other team making good plays? Because the other team's trying to, right?
Yeah,
and
do.
so where can we clean it up? Because South Alabama had some other things where it's mental toughness, where they blew a ball game to Georgia Southern that they should have won. I mean, there's games where we could have won and we should have won, and you had some games where you probably should have won.
Absolutely. And I think it's a little bit of everything. It's coaching. It is putting our players in the best position possible, and that's ultimately on me. And then ultimately, it also comes down to there always seemed to be a big turnover. Right. There's a special teams play. And usually after an offensive turnover, there's an X play that occurs pretty soon after that. And I think when you look at the recipe, even us beating North Carolina, any team that goes on and beats another team at a moment when they shouldn't, there's usually the tide turns in some way. And it usually comes from a turnover that leads to an X play. And then there's some sort of special teams thing that happens in there because you're not in the old adage of, to win games, you run the ball, you stop the run, you win the turnover battle, and you usually win. That's not what we are at that point in time. This is one of those situations where you have a lead, they need something to go right. And it usually comes from a special teams play. It usually comes from off of an offensive turnover. Then there shows up a next play, against your defense. So I think that's really it. Stopping the big play, right? Holding on to the football, which we did better than any team in the country. But in those moments we didn't. And then you just have to be able to smell the blood in the water, and you have to be able to finish, right? You just got to be killers at the end of those games and not play a passive style and protect anything. That final buzzer didn't, ring yet. At that point in time, you do not win this game. What are you protecting? So the idea of shifting that mentality to making sure that we finish every single game, regardless of the score, each play independent of itself, get out there and just, you have a lead, which maybe means that you feel a little bit of momentum in your favor. It doesn't matter. We got to get right back to, what got us there.
So even if you turn the ball over, it's like we can still just force a punt.
That's it. That's it, right? And a lot of times you'll talk about that off of a turnover. What do they do with that next possession? And in those scenarios, they did something with them, or it was a pick six, or it was a scoop and score on a fumble, and then a blocked punt ends up, or a big play on special teams. So those are the things that really change the tides in games.
All right, quickly, Bob Chesney, JMU Dukes. When do you like to have the quarterback named? Not when we find out, all right? Because the team's going to know, all right? The team kind of figures it out quickly. Yeah. When do you like to have that?
I think when it's evident to everybody. I think when it becomes evident to everybody. I don't think it's something that you set a date and then find yourself in a spot where you don't have an answer yet, but you're going to make a decision on that date and you're not prepared to do that yet. That's not what we want to do. We want to put ourselves in a spot where we're putting the best guy behind center that can help lead our team to victory. The good news is we have three quarterbacks that have played in meaningful downs and won a lot of football games. And I think that's something a lot of people don't have. They're trying to figure out between 3 or 4 guys who's the guy with no experiences, right? Or limited experience. We have 3 guys that have won, 9, 10, 11 games, under their belt in seasons and been all conference players that have been, produced on the ground, in the air, and been great leaders. And that's a cool thing to be able to have. So to be able to have that depth is very different than where we're sitting a year ago. There's nothing worse than having one quarterback, right? And now having 2, 3, 4 is pretty exciting.
And still, just like South Alabama did with their backup quarterback, you guys still ended up winning a bowl game.
Right.
Yeah.
With 3 and 4, not even a backup.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And all the defensive guys getting all the pub.
Yes, exactly. But I thought those guys did a great job. They waited their time. And when that moment presented itself, that's the other thing too. We're talking about, the guys that have experience on the field, right? And I'm not talking quarterback here. I'm talking roster. We have guys with experience on the field. Then we have these transfers with experience. But there's guys on our team that sat for now a year, and learn this offense, learn this defense, understand what they have to do. I'm excited to see who emerges from that group because those aren't even the ones you're yet counting on. So when you start thinking about that, the future looks bright.
All right. So where are the strengths on the team heading into camp?
Yeah. So I think as we look at it right now, obviously the depth in the quarterback room is exciting. I think you get to this running back room and it's pretty impressive. And again, Chris just gave me we have over 8,000, total yards receiving and rushing, 94 touchdowns in our running back room right now at the collegiate level. So I think to me, there's a lot of depth there. I think that you work yourself to the offensive line and there's over 96 starts that are happening on that offensive line, even though the 3 guys are not listed as starters, they rotated through, and we do that in the offensive line and rotate guys through. We have Pat, who you get a chance to meet, who's I think the only first team all-conference Sun Belt player to remain on his same team, for this year. So, he's back and he's a leader and he's going to do a phenomenal job. So I like a lot of things. I think I look back to last year, we had 3 receivers in my mind that were major contributors. Right now, I look at it and see 5, 6 guys in there that can really become major contributors this year. So I like our depth. So where do I really see it? Probably that running back room has the most, proven at JMU in the Sun Belt. They have the most, proven, history. I think there's a lot of other guys that are really good though on this team.
All right. So offensive lineman Pat McMurtrie is here. Are we concerned that he's smarter than you are? Cyber intelligence major?
Yeah, we're concerned a lot of our guys are smarter than me. Yes.
Are we concerned that he's taking stuff and he's using it? What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, he's in year 7. So I think he has 2 degrees, a master's, and now he's working on the certificate. So
Dr. Patrick
that's
McMurtrie.
Correct. Yeah.
And so tell us more about him.
I mean, just that. Really, he's played 7 years of football. So he's, COVID and then an injury, and then he was redshirted as a freshman. So I just think that this is a guy that I've known now for 8 years and know his family for 8 years. And, we recruited him out of high school and he is just, gets better every single year. He's one of the most patient offensive linemen. He doesn't say a lot, but he's a great leader. And he is just a kid that is, very, very capable. It doesn't matter whatever you're setting up in front, twists and whatever, he's kind of seen it all. And he just does it in a very poised, calm, confident manner. He's very important to have on this offensive line because, we will be a little bit younger in general, across the board, but having him in here is a big deal.
And then on the other side of the ball, linebacker Trent Hendrick.
Yeah, Trent's the best. So with Trent, he was here recruited, at JMU. Obviously, then there was a change. He stayed, right? And then he worked his way will become a captain of this football team. But he's a guy that we talk about competitor levels on our team. He is the ultimate competitor. There is, we talk about ultimate competitor being the guy that takes care of his own stuff every single day, but not only that, brings other people with him. And we break our team into 5 different teams over the winter, and it wasn't even close. When we're talking about hydration testing, there's not one linebacker that's going to fail. When we're talking about getting something in on time, there's not one linebacker that's going to miss that. When we talk about community service, there's not one linebacker that's going to miss that. You talk about the team he led through the winter, right? That team was the best team, took care of all the little things because of his leadership. He is an ultimate competitor, and I'm glad he's here with us today. All
right, so let's wrap it up here with Bob Chesney, head coach of the JMU Dukes. How have you evolved as a head coach? Because there's different paths, right? We have the Tony Gibson path, we have the Dowell Loggins path, right? Yeah. And guys taking the assistant coach route, and you went the head coach route. I mean, how long have you been head coach? It's been over a decade, right?
Yeah, it's since 2010. So what is that, 15 years?
Yeah. And so even I know some guys that have struggled to get their head coaching on the G5 level, can't get that Power 5 job. Maybe there could be a certain South Alabama head coach that had to go the DC route, right? In the Power 4 job because he couldn't get a Power 4 head coaching job. Maybe lost that out to a Power 4 coordinator job. We won't say what Mississippi coach got that job. We'll just allude that. So how have you evolved as that moving up that ranks where maybe you're not cutting the lawn now and maybe you did the laundry back at other places? Yeah, it did. 100% did. Yeah. So I think now you really have a chance to start to pour more into these players in my mind and build more of a system and a program, right? I think that, goals are if you want to win once, systems, right, are if you want to win for the long haul. And I love what we've done as a system. I think it's proven. I think we brought it up here to a much higher level and we're able to be successful again. And we win 9 games and the first ever bowl game, right? We realistically could win 11 and be in a very different spot. I don't think we could win the 12 or 13, but we could put ourselves in that spot of realistically winning 11 games. And that's not a stretch. And I think when I think about that, obviously I believe in the way we're doing things. I believe in the way we're developing these young men as whole people, not just as football players. Because that's the thing that, we're going to talk about football and everybody's going to talk about football. But ultimately, the human element is what will either propel or hold back a team.
any organization in the world, we know it'll be human element that gets in the way, right? Or human element that propels it forward. And I think that's the thing to me is we had to take this football program and modernize it. So from our recruiting department to our nutrition to everything that we're doing just had to grow and be different than what it was before from their FCS 1 year move to FBS. Those were things that we had to do when we got here. And I just feel like now for me, I have a much better grasp on all of those things. You start to get now into the NIL, now the rev share, you start to get into roster management, all those things that come with it. Those are things that, obviously I did not know a lot about, but I've grown.
Nobody did.
Right. But I've grown immensely. All right. Who did? But it grown immensely, I think, in the first year of it. And I think that I'll be better next year than I was this year. And I'll be better the following year than I was this year, which we all hope we will be.
By the time that happens, it's going to change again.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it. Yep.
He is Bob Chesney, head coach of the JMU Dukes. Hey, show everybody the Starbucks.
Yeah, he did.
The coffee.
He did.
I said
he did.
I was.
It's a little cold right now, but you did bring it.
Well, because I thought we were starting at 7:30. It was 8 o'clock. He's Bob Chesney, head coach of the JMU Dukes, and he's locked on Sunbelt. Thanks for hopping on the podcast, Coach, and best of luck this season. Hope to catch up during the year.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Go
you
Dukes.
so much.
Let's take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll talk to the JMU players, offensive lineman Pat McMurtrie and linebacker Trent Hendrick. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal? Game Time Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Ever wonder what your view will actually look like before you buy? The app shows you a panoramic seat view, so there's no surprises. With Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees. Worried about what happens if plans change? The Game Time guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and more. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. We wrap it up, our conversation with the guys from JMU, offensive lineman Pat McMurtrie, cyber intelligence major, and linebacker Trent Hendrick. What's it been like seeing the growth of JMU from FCS all the way to FBS Bowl champion?
All right, Dave Schultz back on day 2 of Sunbelt Media Days. We're here with the guys from JMU. We got offensive lineman Pat McMurtrie and linebacker Trent Hendrick. We got to talk to Pat McMurtrie about cyber intelligence. I mean, I don't think that major was around when I went to college. What classes are you taking for cyber intelligence?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of it is just about learning, about.
And do I need to hide my phone right now?
No, you're good. You're good. Just a lot of it's just about learning about, areas where you can, you might be susceptible to cyber attacks and just, better ways to, understand what those like issues might be. That's kind of like a lot of what we learned.
And you're going in, how many years have you been playing college football?
This is year 7 for me.
And how old are you?
24.
When do you turn 25? You can rent a car.
I know. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
What's the nickname going around the locker room?
Unk.
That's what. Yeah, the other people have that. Okay. And so, what have you learned? How have you improved as a college football player?
I mean, I just I think just being around, just having so many different teammates over all the years, and just kind of, getting to meet guys from, all different parts of the country who played, for different high school teams. I just think that that's something that is just pretty cool to get to hear other guys' stories.
And now, I mean, you've known Bob Chesney for a long time. What's it like seeing him now in year number 2 at JMU?
It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's just crazy to think back to where we started, and when he was recruiting me out of high school, which felt like a long time ago. But it's just pretty cool to see just the trajectory and the stuff that he's been able to do.
Now, you mentioned that you're one of the few players, if maybe the only player, first team All Sunbelt back. And what was the decision to come back and play at JMU this year?
Just seeing the potential of the team and just the amount of guys that were coming back with experience. And I just loved my time here. I just first year last year, just getting the chance to play in Bridgeforth and just, be on the campus. Like, it was just something that I really enjoyed.
And then what was that like winning the bowl game, playing with that third and fourth string QBs? I mean, that's all task.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
And that's a lot of pressure on the offensive line, right? I'm a big believer in the backup theory where everybody has to play better when you're playing with the backup guys.
Yeah, I mean, but they did a tremendous job. Like, it really didn't feel that much different, with the practices and everything. Like, I think, all the guys that were playing, that game, they did a great job of just, treating it like normal. And, obviously we were able to go get a win. So, it was just credit to them. They played great.
So is the goal going to work for the FBI or the CIA? What's the goal? Have they come calling yet? Do they come on campus? Do you go there? Does a black van come pick you up? How do we do? What is the job interview like? What's that?
We'll figure that out when the time comes.
He's not telling me. It's a big secret. Yeah. He's already got the gig. Trent, he's already got the gig.
Yeah.
He's just not sure. Yeah. By the way, Trent, you better take a picture of him now because you're never seeing him again.
This is it.
Yeah. We're gonna see him in Thanksgiving and playing a bowl game, and we're never gonna hear from Pat McMurtrie again. All right, quickly, Trent Hendrick, you decided to stay at JMU. What went into that thought?
This is home for me. I always loved JMU. I had multiple opportunities to leave the school times, with the coaching changes, but I just decided to stay.
What makes JMU so special?
The culture and the people. It's really the locker room. It's just the bonds that I've been able to create with the guys over the years. And even with the new guys who come in, new transfers, freshmen, I mean, it's just we always just seem to, mold so well in the offseason. I feel like that's what makes JMU a special place.
All right, so you had a good year last year. It could have been a great year, right? You had double-digit leads in those 3 losses. You could have won them all, maybe should have won them all. What is going to be the change that we don't blow double-digit leads in 2025?
I mean, when you're going into halftime, you got to look at the game as 0-0. As a defensive guy, I'm not really looking at the score too much anyway. So,
yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
But no, honestly, just keep going. Play a complete game, 4 quarters. That's all that matters. Just execute during times like 2 minutes, stuff like that, where the game really is won and lost. And that's what we've been working on.
I mean, you've seen this program grow from FCS to FBS. It's been an amazing growth spurt only in a handful of years. What's that been like?
I was just talking to Coach about it on the way, that we were the first, my class of 2022 was the first FBS class. So we played a full FBS schedule, and it's been really fun. We've been able to go in and do well in the FBS, and we're just trying to keep elevating and keep dominating.
All right. He is Patrick McMurtrie. He is Trent Hendrick. They are the JMU Dukes, and they are locked on Sunbelt. Thanks for hopping on the podcast, guys, and best of luck in 2025. Thank you so much.
Go Dukes.
Appreciate it.